No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is a special election edition of Outspoken, episode number 486. And breaking today, Britain's Uni-party. It's done. Finished. With the Labour Party and the Conservatives finally out, and today's dramatic mid-term election earthquake ushering in a new era. A new era of sectarian extremism and Islamism versus a desperate fight by patriots like you and me to save our country. And the disgraceful, loathsome Prime Minister Slippery Starmer is refusing to listen to his own advice.
When you lose an election in a democracy, you deserve to. You don't look at the electorate and ask them, what were you thinking? You look at yourself and ask, what were we doing?
I'm not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. We were elected to deal with these challenges, and that's what we will do.
Reform UK leader Nigel Farage and the Green Party tit whisperer Zack Polanski both declaring victory today.
And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead. It is buried. And actually, whether it's here that Labour have been rejected or whether we're seeing around the country, it's very clear that the new politics is the Green Party versus Reform.
This set of elections was like our Beecher's Brook. You know, you've got to clear Beecher's Brook, you've got to land safely if you're going to go on and win the Grand National. And these are the most significant set of elections between now and the general election. And I think we're in a very good place.
But the other big winner is Restore Britain leader Rupert Lowe, who has just announced history made. We won 10 out of 10 seats with overwhelming majorities in every single one. Great Yarmouth First. Then we restore Britain. A very special day. And I think it's fair to say Nigel Farage won't be happy with that, given this prediction.
The party isn't even registered. He won't be on 1% anywhere, not even probably in Great Yarmouth. Thank you.
And do stand by, because Rupert Lowe will here for his first interview straight after the digest. We'll also be joined by Advance UK leader Ben Habib. Is this finally the moment for the right to unite?
But I think what this shows is the need to reunite the right. That, again, John Curtis is pointing out that Reform is doing extraordinarily well in places that voted Leave in the referendum. The Conservatives are still doing well in places that were the less Leave voting areas. If you combine that, it's an unstoppable force in British politics against a divided left and a sort of moribund Labour Party currently.
But this election has also revealed the horror of sectarian and Islamist politics. You won't see this on the MSM, but it is invading our system.
আমি সবাইকে অনুরোধ জানাচ্ছি আমার বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি যারা এই নিয়মে বসবাস করেন সবাইকে
Now, I didn't catch a word of that.
And this is one of the main reasons I'm standing with the Green Party, is literally because they stand with Palestine.
You don't speak English. Exactly, that's it. You do speak English. No.
we gotta be politically correct. Inshallah, this is only the warm-up. Assalamu alaikum.
I want to change a little bit this area. We need something to be good for everyone. We need cleaning, not rats, not holes in the roads. We need to change a little bit the area, please.
At least some true patriotic stars were born.
What are you predicting is going to happen when the other results are declared here in Basildon?
If I'm not delivering 14 out of 14 seats for Reform UK tonight, then I've done a bad job. So I'm expecting to deliver 14 out of 14 tonight.
And you're pretty sure that's going to happen, are you?
The only thing that we can be sure of in life is death, taxes and Labour ruining our lives.
Yes, man! Good on you. We're also going to bring you all of the breaking news today as it develops. You do not need the mainstream media. And we can tell you, as we come on air, the Welsh First Minister and Labour leader, Eluned Morgan, has just lost her seat in the Senedd. This is just unprecedented. The Labour rules mean she's now out. She is now out as Labour leader. So extraordinary things are happening across England and in Scotland and Wales. We will be revealing Everything you need to know about this election the MSM isn't telling you. And then joining us for a show-stopping superstar panel, Reform UK's Russell Quirk. He's doing the victory lap today. Legendary political commentator Suzanne Evans and right-wing YouTube sensation Paul Thorpe, who is on this mission to unite the right. Later in the show, we'll have Reform UK's Kezia Noble and Restore Britain's Montgomery Toms and Orla Minihane joining us too, as well, of course, as Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib. Also coming up on the show today, fake news agent host Lewis Goodall horrified when he realises the reality of Islamist Britain after this election. The tit whisperer Green Party leader Zack Polanski left humiliated by the truth of his breast hypnotism catastrophe. This is going to forever haunt him, I think. And check this out. The Tories and Labour now plotting a grand coalition to end British democracy once and for all. We will reveal all of the details of that. Also, the big vote going on for the worst Britain in the world this week. On Monday, your nominee was Laura Kuenssberg. Tuesday, Jeremy Corbyn. Wednesday, Shabana Mahmood. Thursday, Keir Starmer. You can get voting in the post tab on YouTube. I will bring you the results at the end of the show. You can also keep your comments and your super chats coming in. This is a special election edition of Dan Wootton Outspoken. Let's go. So today's election earthquake comes as our disunited kingdom teeters on the absolute brink. The Islamist takeover of Sadiq Khan's London is a horror sign of things to come across the country. This was just yesterday in London.
Filling on the train. Yo. What the hell?
Just today, the number of invaders crossing via the English Channel has reached 200,000, with new arrivals at the Britannia Hotel on the Isle of Dogs appearing to have been handed maps to guide them as they move around our capital city.
Fucking hell, got a map. Wow. The lads have got a map.
And it is scenes like this why patriots are done. We are done, right? And that is why finally, once and for all, we have rejected the Labour Conservative Uni-party which betrayed us all so badly. And Slippery Starmer, who we know is a Prime Minister who hates us, if he was any type of man at all, he would listen to his own words.
When you lose an election in a democracy, you deserve to. You don't look at the electorate and ask them, what were you thinking? You look at yourself and ask, what were we doing?
Well, of course, but do you think this guy has any moral backbone at all? No. This historically bad election result is just another reason for him to cling on and keep destroying this country that we love and he hates.
I'm not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. We were elected to deal with these challenges, and that's what we will do.
Has Ed Miliband asked you to set a timetable for your departure?
Well, I think Ed Miliband has dealt with this and made absolutely clear that he supports me.
What do you say to those in your party that are really upset with you? They don't think you're getting it and they're calling for your resignation. What do you say to would-be challengers and the party? What's your message?
Well, I think it's very important that we don't sugarcoat these results, so I'm not going to do that. They are tough results, I accept that. They reflect voters who don't feel that their lives have changed enough or quickly enough, and that's been going on for a long time. We were elected to deal with that, and I'm not going to walk away from that responsibility and plunge the country into chaos.
Well, you've done it already. You've done it already for the past 20 months. You have done it already with your hate-filled, vile policies, creating a two-tier Britain, demonising patriots, even jailing your opponents. So this is our fight back. It's on, Starmer. It is on. Do you know what? I did have to laugh, though. when someone sent me a clip of Sly News this morning trying to tell us this isn't all bad for Starmer. Yep, the propagandists are still out there. Watch.
To try and understand these election results. As Sam was pointing out there, and I think it's fascinating because we recorded a podcast earlier this morning where it looked way worse for the Labour Party in terms of their losses than it perhaps seems it is now. It's still really bad, but perhaps not as bad as a couple of hours ago.
But there's so much this election day that you are not being told by the MSM. Like Shabana Mahmood, our Islamist Home Secretary, exclusively campaigning. She posted only these pictures. What do you notice? Every culture and colour under the sun, apart from a singular white person. And then what about the downright Islamist cheating at polls up and down the country, which the MSM has literally not mentioned once today? So here's just one example from Nicole Lampert. A friend voted in Edgbaston North in Birmingham and reports intimidation outside the polling booth from Gaza Independents. These idiots have been harassing voters outside the polling station to vote for them. I got shouted at from across the road trying to intimidate me to vote for them. I simply told them no. And what they are doing is not legal, and inform the election people inside the polling station who have told me one more incident and they're calling the police. Update, apparently looks like the independent candidate sponsored by, wait for it, Yaqub and Afsfar. Ah yes, Ahmed Yaqub's Islamist mob who are going to bring hell to Birmingham.
1 second, please. 10:31 on the 7th of May, 2026. We are on the cusp of making political history. Every single one of you should be proud of yourself. Every single one of you should be very proud. Labour Solat Kara. Labour Solat Kara asaki use karne re, abuse karne re, ताकि आसा उन्हें क्या आका असने मसाइल है तो गल करो ओ आखने we gotta be politically correct. Inshallah, this is only the warm-up. Assalamu alaikum.
They're warning us. They're warning us. Seriously. Wake up. This is only the warm-up. And the cheating was happening everywhere, by the way, all across the country. I want to show you this from Manchester.
Not just at election time. After 13 years of unprotected, Manchester is still fighting to protect services and rebuild our city. Vote Naim Hassan for a fairer city, a cleaner and safer future.
So that's Naim Hassan on Leighton Avenue within 100 metres of the polling station with his announcement. Lovely.
But I mean, all of those tactics are being used. And it is, look, it's to promote loons like this.
Hello, my name is Julian Nister. I'm your candidate for Ward End Workers' Party. I want to change a little bit this area. We need something to be good for everyone. We need cleaning, not rats, not holes in the roads. We need to change a little bit the area. Please, on the 7th of May, come to vote. Your support, there will be my good things in the life. I will be with you for everything. What do you need?
The best candidate for our community, Julian.
Julian. Sometimes you've got to laugh in the horror by calling him Halal Capone. Then you've got Baggy Khan, who's been elected as Green Party councillor for Bolton. Watch. So this is England, this is Britain, okay? But it doesn't look like it. And we all know that this madness is going on. But you simply don't see it being discussed on the MSM at all.
And this is one of the main reasons I'm standing with the Green Party, is literally because they stand with Palestine. As you can see, we're standing for Palestine. We're not like Labour and the other parties that are a part of this genocide, funding this war in Israel. We're with our family, with our people, with Palestine. Listen, you don't need to be a Muslim to support these guys. It's about humanity.
They today has been absolutely fantastic. If you were rolling a couple of minutes before, you would have seen the response, and that is the response I have been having all day. People stopping me, people coming over to tell me that they have hope in me, people shaking my hands, giving me hugs, introducing me to their children, because we have started a revolution in Alum Rock. The turnout has been phenomenal. We are at general election levels because of how much hope and faith people have in us, because of the campaign that we've run. We are going to shake Alum Rock tomorrow. We are going to be victorious, both Shaukat and I, and we are going to get rid of these Labour councillors, inshallah, and we are going to bring change to Alum Rock.
So we're here obviously outside Naseby polling station. It is polling day. There's only a couple of hours left for people to cast their votes, and the response that we're getting is really positive.
But perhaps it was this moment, just 13 seconds on GB News, that summed up the sectarian mess we're in the best.
Assalamu alaikum. আমি সবাইকে অনুরোধ জানাচ্ছি আমার বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি যারা এই নিউহামে বসবাস করেন সবাইকে
Now I didn't catch a word of that.
Yet this is what Zack Polanski, the tit whisperer, wants. And he has claimed audaciously in the past few hours, in Hackney, of course, that the new politics in the United Kingdom, and on this I do not disagree with him, it's the Green Party versus Reform UK.
And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried. And actually, whether it's here that Labour have been rejected or whether we're seeing around the country, it's very clear that the new politics is the Green Party versus Reform. I said that the Green Party were going to replace Labour. That's exactly what we did in Gorton and Denton. It's what we've done in Hackney, and we're seeing that right across the country. In fact, in almost all of our seats, right across the country, whether they're target or non-target, the Green Party vote share is rising.
It's a good result for you here. Labour haven't done quite as disastrously so far as many were expecting. Does that mean that you're not quite as popular as you thought?
I think the Labour Party have done a good job of expectation management, and actually the fact they've had a terrible result rather than an existentially bad result, I don't think is particularly good for them. But I'm not interested in just criticising the government. What Zoe has done in Hackney, and we're seeing right across the country, is the Green Party are offering a tangible plan for change alongside hope. That's such a powerful combination.
Hope. Not from you, mate. As Father Calvin Robinson put it, I have nothing against reform voters. I believe they are wrong, but for the right reason. Green voters, however, I think are evil. This is an Islamic takeover, and liberals who vote for them clearly hate our country. And can we just stop pretending the Green Party dudes are sort of stupid woke-topians but good? Because do you know their candidates have even refused to shake hands with Reform UK victors?
Is duly elected. Thank you.
Shameful. Now, Labour's bid to join this Islamist mob has well and truly failed, even though they were putting up candidates who also could literally not speak a word of English.
Can I ask you a few questions? As a Labour candidate, yeah? How are you? You've been in, you don't speak English. Exactly, that's it. You do speak English. No. So as a Labour candidate, how are you? You've been in Oldham for a bit. How are you going to change nothing? Because nothing seems to be changing. You're a fob. I'm a fob? Pardon? That party's been dead friendly with me, yeah? The Artistan's party's been dead friendly with me. You've been standoffish. Can you go and get you? Go. Right. Okay. Belter. I know who I'd vote for.
So in a sign of where we're at now, with the total decline of the establishment media, Nigel Farage initially decided to speak directly to his voters after today's massive victory.
What you can see already is there is an historic shift in British politics that is taking place. Of the results thus far, we won 1 in 3 of every seat. Take the average vote share, we're 10% ahead of any other party. And I'm saying this to you at 9 a.m. as I look forward to the rest of the day, because I think the best is yet to come. I'm looking forward, particularly in the Red Wall, to us wiping out Labour in areas they've dominated for over a century. Our prospects in Wales are very, very exciting. We've a chance of becoming the official opposition in Scotland. And just watch Essex later on today, the county that has nearly half the shadow cabinet in it. And what we're beginning to see is that politics is no longer about the old arguments of right and left. It's about people who value patriotic ideas, believe in this country, and want to see things turn round. So watch this space. We'll keep you up to date. We're in for a very, very good day.
When he did face the dinosaurs in the mainstream media, Nigel said he believes today's results are actually even bigger than when Boris Johnson took the Red Wall.
Boris Johnson did well in 2019 in the Red Wall, but what you're going to see today from us goes way, way further than that. And I think what you're seeing is voters who aren't just coming to us for a one-off, they're now becoming reformers in every way. So I am convinced that it's a fundamental change. I said yesterday that this set of elections was like our Beecher's Brook. You know, you've got to clear Beecher's Brook, you've got to land safely if you're going to go on and win the Grand National. And these are the most significant set of elections between now and the general election, and I think we're in a very good place. And our lead, if you look at our lead over the other parties, it's consistently about 9.5%.
And Nigel believes he can now set the MSM agenda, and actually, maybe when you look at this, he's right.
You talked about some difficult questions of funding for local councils. You've had some difficult questions about your own funding.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that any other time you like.
There was the odd boo-boo by Reform candidates.
Our message is UKIP's here, working hard with local communities. Sorry, Reform is here, working hard with local communities. And I've been doing this for the last 15 years, from the UKIP days all the way through to Reform.
But stars were born for the party too.
What are you predicting is going to happen when the other results are declared here in Basildon?
If I'm not delivering 14 out of 14 seats for Reform UK tonight, then I've done a bad job. So I'm expecting to deliver 14 out of 14 tonight.
And you're pretty sure that's going to happen, are you?
The only thing that we can be sure of in life is death, taxes and Labour ruining our lives.
But for the Tories, Kemi Badenoch, who might be a half-decent woman, right, just doesn't seem to understand what's going on, because she actually did a bizarre victory rally today, not understanding that the Uni-party is done.
We are the only party who does any work. We're the only ones who do any work. Reform talk a good game, but actually all the places that voted for Reform last time are kicking Reform out. People who experience Reform don't like it, and we know that that's going to happen again this year. But we need people to know that hope is coming. The Conservatives have to come back because, my goodness, this country needs us. We are coming back to fight for our high streets. We are coming back to fight for hard-working people. We are coming back to fight for businesses. We are coming back to fight for veterans, for parents, for farmers. We're coming back to stamp out anti-Semitic hatred on our streets. We are coming back to deliver a stronger economy. We're coming back to deliver a stronger country. And we are coming back to get Britain working again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Oh, bless them. Bless them. Look, I even like some of them, but it's done. It's done. I mean, they should probably be sitting there chanting, finished, finished, finished. Over on Talk TV, James Cleverly even decided to accuse Reform UK of cheating.
And so, James, do you congratulate Reform UK on an impressive set of results?
Look, it's not. They are political opponents. I think they. I'll make the point.
Tongue-tied.
I think they've got these results. I think they've got these results on a false prospectus, and I'm not going to congratulate people for cheating to get a win. And I believe that's what they have.
The Reform-Tory split did result in the best Jerry Springer moment of the night when Tory frontbencher Victoria Atkins challenged her ex-BFF Robert Jenrick live on air.
I mean, you pointed out that you two worked very, very closely together for quite some time, didn't you? And this is the first time that we have you reunited. This is the first time you've spoken, sitting here.
Rob has not spoken to me since he left the Conservative Party in the way that he did. And I considered us to be very good friends. And so it has been a great personal loss for me as well as a professional one. And the reason I raise this is because I think Rob is describing, he's the economic spokesman for reform. And I think how one conducts oneself is important. And I think that this is a message that will continue until the general election, that if people are asking the voters for trust, then that has to be genuine. And we as Conservatives are trying to trust, we're trying to rebuild that trust. We are acknowledging that mistakes were made.
What would you say to that?
The way you have trust in politics is to do what you say you're going to do. And the Conservative Party is not trusted because it didn't do what it said it was going to do. It was elected in 2019 on a manifesto.
I'm talking about the personal point.
But this is the point here.
Can we just start there?
The question at the end of the day in politics,
actually a very personal
the
point.
question is about honesty and trustworthiness. And the point is this: reform can be trusted to do what it says it's going to do. Unfortunately, it gives me no pleasure to say this, the Conservative Party broke the most fundamental trust with the British public because it said it was going to secure our borders. It did the opposite. It was open season. It said it would secure our economy.
If looks could kill. But of course, the real crisis today is for Labour, with a Prime Minister that it simply cannot move. Now, that is even as Ed Miliband tries to get Starmer to quit, privately suggesting in a meeting, and I note that Slippery didn't deny this today, should consider setting out a timeline for his departure amid concerns he will end up being forced out. A spokesman for Miliband would not comment on private conversations. We know what that means. Now, of course, for Reform UK, it's quite easy going up against Starmer, although Lee Anderson said that they fear no one now, not even Andy Burnham, the King of the North.
Reform rather face at the next general election Andy Burnham as Prime Minister and Labour leader, or Keir Starmer?
We're not really worried, Andy, to be honest. People keep harping on and banging on about Andy Burnham. He wasn't that a greater MP when he was in that place. He wasn't a great Health Secretary. So we fear nobody at the moment. And I will say this about Sir Keir Starmer. I'd like to see him hang on a little bit. I don't think he will, but I'd like to see him hang on. He's our best ever campaign manager. He's got the Corbyn effect. The Corbyn effect in 2019. In places like in Ashfield in the Red Wall, people hated that man, and it was a Brexit, it was an anti-Corbyn, and it was a Boris vote. And I think Starmer's having the same effect. Some people say it's Marmite Starmer. I think everybody dislikes him.
But it was just so embarrassing trying to see the Labour Party claim, for example, on Newsnight, the chairman, Anatoly, saying, Slippery Starmer is leading the world.
A number of seats that you'd get to, at which point you think Keir Starmer's finished.
No, I don't think people are putting that record on it. Of course, people will have a reaction to it. It's going to be challenging when your friends, your colleagues, the people who've leafleted for you may lose their seats. But we know that that's making us more determined to deliver for people. People are telling us that they're desperate to see change. They're urgent for that change. The Cabinet, the Prime Minister, we're all desperate to get behind making sure we're helping people with the cost of living. We're helping people lift public services back on their feet. And of course, we're in the middle of an international crisis where we've got a Prime Minister who's genuinely leading the world and gaining respect around the world. And I know the PLP and the Cabinet are fully behind him.
And in a tight spot, you don't want Calamity Lammy in your corner. The Deputy Prime Minister conceded that Slippery Starmer had been hopeless domestically.
We said that we were going to deliver change. They want to see real change in their lives. And I've got no doubt if we do not deliver that, we'll be out on our backsides. We have to accelerate the pace of change. We have to respond to the frustration that people are seeing. No doubt about that. I think that what they have seen is a Prime Minister who has been very good internationally, has delivered for Britain and stood up on the world stage. But domestically, the pace of change has been slower than people wanted. Now, look, they've only been in power 20 months. When I see those breakfast clubs in schools...
The arguments became increasingly desperate, with Tommy Robinson pointing out, as Labour falls apart in front of the world's eyes tonight, David Lammy sits on the BBC saying, it's not a proper election. Comedy gold all night. Watch.
Oh, look, I mean, I think, one, let's wait and see the results come in. Two, I remember in 2019, the then Brexit party doing extremely well in the European elections that then all fell away by the time you get to the proper elections. So the truth is...
But look, even MSM and establishment dinosaurs like Andrew Neil acknowledge that this election is historic.
This is not a by-election. This is not, somebody wins, they're famous for 2 weeks, it's all over. This is a change in the very nature of British politics. The first really big change for 100 years. And as we become more fragmented, it comes at a difficult time, because we have really big economic problems at home and major geopolitical challenges abroad, as we can all see. Fragmented politics is not a good way of dealing that, but we are where we are, Joe.
But it wasn't all good news for Reform UK, with a major challenger on the way. In the past hour, Rupert Lowe, Restore Britain leader, has announced history made. We won 10 out of 10 seats with overwhelming majorities in every single one. Great Yarmouth First, then we Restore Britain, a very special day. And indeed, George Gilbert, Restore Britain supporter, said while Reform's huge wins tonight are big, they will be short-lived. He said when Restore establishes itself with boots on the ground and becomes formidable nationwide, those who lent Reform their vote today will quickly jump ship come 2029. And I was particularly taken by the Spectator's deputy political editor, James Heal, who's in the tank for Reform UK. And he said that the result is a reminder again that Reform has built a very effective campaign machine in barely 18 months, a real challenge for the creaky establishment party infrastructures designed for the 19th century. Now, that's of course true, but as I pointed out to James Heal, it also means that Reform UK would be unwise to dismiss what Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain might be able to build in the next 18 months. Now, Jacob Rees-Mogg believes that this result shows that the right must be united. Watch.
I think what this shows is the need to reunite the right. That, again, John Curtis is pointing out that Reform is doing extraordinarily well in places that voted Leave in the referendum. The Conservatives are still doing well in places that were the less Leave voting areas. If you combine that, it's an unstoppable force in British politics against a divided left and a sort of moribund Labour Party currently.
And there are some people calling for Rupert Lowe to make peace with Reform UK, like Will Chamberlain, who said it is time for a deal like that to be done. But the problem is Nigel obviously totally dismissed Restore Britain. Do you remember when he said that they won't even be on 1% in Great Yarmouth?
The party isn't even registered. He won't be on 1% anywhere, not even probably in Great Yarmouth. Thank you.
Okay, well, I've just got all of the individual vote shares for the candidate standing for Restore Britain in Great Yarmouth. Nigel said they wouldn't even be on 1%. Okay, it was 43%, 47%, 46%, 48%, 41%, 48%, 50%, 42%, and 51%. This was a drubbing. And for his first interview after this result, Rupert Lowe joins me now live. Rupert Lowe, leader of Restore Britain, congratulations on that clean sweep in Great Yarmouth. I presume you're not wanting to do a deal with Nigel Farage now? You fight on.
Oh, well, evening, Dan. How good of you to have me on. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. Well, look, we've just kept quiet. As you know, we've managed our own affairs. We've not been covered by most of the mainstream media, particularly the what I call Nigel Farage Broadcasting Channel, GB News. I say beware Greeks bearing gifts, and the guy running it is by chance Greek and seems to
indeed
completely ignore what we've actually achieved. I find it odd because you'd think the Electoral Commission would actually have something to say about it, but given that they're supposed to be covering everybody in an impartial way. So look, I want to thank the 9 candidates who stood up. They're all local people. They've never been in politics before. They're fantastic representatives for Great Yarmouth. They're well known locally. They've joined me. I want to thank the people of Great Yarmouth. We had the most incredible reception both last week and yesterday, when a lot of our supporters in Great Yarmouth who backed me in 24 turned out in huge numbers. I mean, the actual vote was up 60% on the vote in 2021, which shows you we're bringing people back into politics who've not been voting for a very long time. They've been disaffected. And even more importantly, Dan, we attracted on last Friday, I think we had over 500 people who came from all over the country, people from Inverness, Aberdeen, Fife, right the way down to Cornwall, Devon, Sussex, the Midlands, Leeds, Sheffield. These were real people who, for the first time in their lives, felt passionate about politics. So for me, this is a incredibly powerful message to the British people as to what can be done when democracy starts to actually exert itself as it should. And you actually have, instead of the two-party system, the Reds and the Blues, you actually have real people representing real people. So I want to thank the Great Yarmouth constituents. They are top people. I went east, I funded the campaign there, had very little help from Reform, frankly. And they even failed to send out my second election address. But look, the people in Great Yarmouth are great people. They're the bedrock of England, and they've been very badly let down by the post-war establishment. And I think they have actually today, and this is what's so seismic, set the trend for the rest of the country. So the model we've proved now in Great Yarmouth, where we have an elected MP and myself who, and again, this wasn't about me, so I wasn't at the count. I didn't go there today. I left that to the 9 county councillors who we've now got. But also, we also won a borough council by-election, which by quirk of fate gives us the casting vote on the borough council as well. So I think Great Yarmouth is going to save Britain, and we can roll this out now across the country. As I said, we had 500 people from everywhere else who actually came, and they've learnt how we've done it. We will help them do it. We've got branches springing up everywhere reflexively. We're a small team. We can't get round everybody, but they're doing it themselves. And that's got to be the model, Dan. People are passionate about this. They've traveled a long way. A lot of them haven't got a lot of money, so you've got to give them huge credit for this. And they're actually setting up branches themselves. They will be finding local people to represent local government and represent their local constituents. And then the job in 29, let's hope, it's 29. I suspect Labour will cling on to power as long as they can, because they know they're going to get eviscerated in a general election. Then we have to win the general election as well. And then I think Britain can heal itself. So Farage, people talk about splitting the vote. We're not splitting the vote. We're bringing people back to vote. That's the exciting thing here. And
do you think this is the peak of Nigel Farage then? Is this moment his peak?
Dan. I told you earlier, I think this is peak Reform. I think they are warehousing a lot of votes for us. We didn't stand everywhere else, but I know there are a lot of people across the country who they're looking down for authenticity. They're looking for truth. They're looking for people who actually speak as they see things. They don't want the glitz. They don't want the verbal baby food. They don't want the fireworks. They don't want the razzmatazz. What they want is honesty. Because Britain, let's face it, has gone down a one-way street, and we're not going to get out of it if we don't basically accept where we are, hunker down, do some hard work, lay some pipe, as I say, and actually rebuild the foundations of Britain. And we are producing policy documents. We've already produced one, as you know, on mass deportation. We've produced one on an Englishman's home as his castle. We've done one on restoring British pubs. I've been working on one recently for economic recovery. We've got one on net zero, oil and gas, all of the lunacy which has been pursued by both parties, the Reds and the Blues recently, which has meant people are paying far too much for their energy. And as I've always said, we've got the best people in the world, Dan. All we've got to do is empower them, get these vile bureaucrats out of their life, tame the lawyers and the legal profession who are basically robbing Britain. The parasite is robbing the host animal and is nearly killing it. We have to basically change all that. reward hard work, allow people to live their lives, allow them to bring up their families, stop taxing them into oblivion. As I've said, the state is now the enemy of the people. It should be serving the people. And we're going to show that can be done locally and that can be done nationally. And I'm intent on winning the election in 29. And I am going to be standing a whole slate of new people from outside politics. I don't just want to bring in the stale, sort of recycled failures who basically churn themselves around the political scene. What we need is real people, as we saw yesterday in this election in Great Yarmouth, real people representing real people. And that's the model. So beware, everybody, Restore Britain is coming, and it's got the support of the British people. It's growing incredibly fast, Dan, and it's not rocket science. It's about being honest and authentic.
So you talk about the mainstream media, and they are against you, Rupert, as you know, and they are against you even after this result today. I want to show you the Daily Mail columnist Dan Hodges, who posted earlier, can we also now finally draw a line under this idea this guy, referring to you, is going to have any influence at all over British politics? What's your response to that?
Well, I saw it. I don't know who Dan Hodges is. I don't really care what he says. He's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. So I don't pay any attention to what these gnomes have to say. Dan, they're all self-serving. They're all part of the same rotten establishment which has failed us. And the sooner we can get away from them all, the better, frankly. So in many ways, the more they ignore me, the more the British people can see what a fraud they are. So, I don't mind. Carry on ignoring me. It really doesn't bother me. So, you've been fantastic. You deserve the credit for it. You followed what we've done. You can see what we're trying to do. And I think you've been very fair in the way you've reported. I wouldn't expect you to say what you didn't think. And if you didn't think we were doing the right thing, I'd expect you to say so. I respect your view.
I mean, what I can't believe is that the mainstream media just pretending like this party, which has, over 130,000 members, doesn't exist. It's incredibly dishonest. It's incredibly corrupt. But this is why so many people are turning away from the mainstream media. But Rupert, just to be clear, today you are saying no peace deal with Nigel Farage before the next election, no desire to work with Reform UK, even though you know what's going to happen now, Rupert. You are going to get everyone saying to you, you're going to split the vote on the right. This is going to be disastrous. You're going to let in the tit whisperers at Polanski and the Greens. You're resolute. You do this on your own as Restore Britain, no deals.
We're going to plough our own furrow. I mean, Nigel Farage, Lee Anderson, Zia Youssef, and Reform tried to send me to prison. They made two false witness statements, which I can't get from the police. I will get them before I finish, and I'm in correspondence with the police. Had my guns taken away. It cost me a lot of money. They accused me of bullying, of early onset dementia, as you know, and it was the most vile hit job, and I think everybody could see through it. So, frankly, I don't trust Farage. He doesn't want to work with me, and I can tell you something. People keep bringing me up and saying, why don't you unite with Nigel Farage for the sake of the right? Watch my lips, Dan. I don't work with people who try and send me to prison for nothing. And, I'm now after Bridget Phillipson. I asked her a perfectly sensible question in the chamber last week. And she came back from a written script reading from Reform's Bent KC report, which was released before it should have been by her own admission. And I've demanded an apology from her. I mean, Bridget Phillipson is a vile human being, in my opinion. A lot of that Labour front bench are dishonest. And frankly, when I produce our final draft of the Rape Gang inquiry, I do not see how any self-respecting Briton can ever vote for the Labour Party again. They put power and their own interests ahead of abuse of the most vulnerable white working class British girls in our country. And it's happening as we speak here now on an industrial scale across the country. And the main perpetrators are Pakistani Muslim men, most of them from one part of Pakistan called Mirpur. And this is going to be produced very shortly. That's been going on, Dan, for 35, 40 years. The police have done nothing. The NHS has done nothing. The Labour Party's done nothing. Local government's done nothing. Literally, it is an establishment fraud. And they have let down the British people. So I don't think they're going to get another vote, even from the die-hard Labour supporters. How can you vote for people who've perpetrated that evil on the most vulnerable people in society? So look, that's rattling down the track fairly shortly. As you know, they promised a statutory inquiry. They've now watered that down. They tried to claim it was happening in silos. It wasn't. It's happening everywhere. We think it's happening in probably 187 areas of this country, and most of it's probably still happening as we sit here speaking now. It's a reflection on all of the establishment. They all know it's happening. And Sadiq Khan, who, as you know, runs the Metropolitan Police, who played a part in this reform hit job, I've got evidence of who was behind it all. You know, he claims
Restore Britain have achieved in the local elections today is, for me, the standout result of these local elections. From entering the race only a few weeks ago, they have won their first seats with thumping majorities. This is political history in the making. I wholeheartedly congratulate him and his team. The people have spoken. All political parties, including Advance UK, must take note. That's quite something, isn't it?
Well, look, I've always liked and had a great deal of respect for Ben. I think he had a differing opinion. He's, you know, he's sniped at me a little bit recently. I just ignore that, Dan. I don't take that personally. I think his heart's in the right place, and I'm very grateful for his comments. And I equally, Howard Cox, who is close to Ben, has said the same thing. So I am of the view that we have to all fight our battle till we get to the next election. And then when we get towards the next election, then we have to have a look. And what I'm trying to do is set up a structure which allows the British people to have fresh representation locally and nationally, and brings people back to politics who've given up on it. They've given up on the media. They've given up on politics. I want a country that actually gives young people a chance. I had a great chance when I was young. I'm pretty much self-made, and I'm proud of that. But the young now don't have the chance. They're being ripped off on student debt. That's another absolute national scandal we're producing a paper on. We have a society, I think, that has become selfish, particularly the baby boomers. The people who've got all the wealth are just risk averse. They're trying to keep hold of their pensions. They're trying to retire comfortably. They've had the best of it for many years. And basically, it's time now to get a country, as I say, which is honest with itself, which works hard, which hunkers down, which gets a bit of the Protestant ethic back, and behaves responsibly to everybody in society. And that, I'm afraid, means clipping the wings of the lawyers, clipping the wings of all these idiotic civil servants who I investigate every week at the Public Accounts Committee, who are just wasting billions in taxpayers' money, and actually starting to trim down the size of the state and return power to the individual. That is the formula that will allow us to all lead better lives. And I'm going to give people, if they agree with me, I'm going to give them a chance to vote for it. Look, if they don't, Dan, I respect that, and I will withdraw from the battlefield after 29 if I end up getting my head handed to me. But I couldn't not have a go, and I will continue in the way that we have. I've got a fantastic team. I have the best constituency in the country, and I want to thank everybody in Great Yarmouth, because they're proper people and they've got proper local democracy beginning to assert itself in their constituency, and that's the model for everybody else.
Rupert Lowe, the leader of Restore Britain, thank you so much and congratulations on your big win in Great Yarmouth today. And we will be very shortly joined by the aforementioned Advanced UK leader Ben Habib. But first, for reaction, I want to get to my superstar panel. Paul Thorpe, right-wing YouTube sensation. Russell Quirk, who is celebrating a big Reform UK win today, and Suzanne Evans, the independent political commentator. So, Russell, we've got to give you the stage because it has been a huge day for Reform UK. What do you think about what happened in Great Yarmouth, though? Does that give you any pause for thought, given that Restore Britain wasn't on the ballot anywhere else?
I haven't given it any thought whatsoever, Dan, to be honest, because, you know,
Shouldn't
here in
you?
Essex... No, we're here in Essex. We weren't fighting against Restore. You know, as I understand it, Restore, as I think you just alluded to, they fielded 9 candidates under the banner of Great Yarmouth First. And look, that's a matter for them. I don't give it a second thought. What I do give a second thought to is the fact that Reform currently, I think, are on 955 seat victories. We've got just about the same number as the Labour and Conservative parties across the UK combined. You know, no disrespect to you, Dan, in terms of the little distraction from Reform's VE Day today, this seismic earthquake of political revolution that is Reform. You know, we are a party that's only 3 or 4 years old. We have frankly handed the Uni-party their arses. And no disrespect, I think that's the headline rather than something that's happening in Great Yarmouth that certainly doesn't affect me here in Essex.
What do you think, Suzanne Evans? Is Rupert Lowe going to be a threat? I mean, that's a huge result in Great Yarmouth.
He's had a very, very good result in Great Yarmouth, indeed. One thing I will say is that, remember, he didn't actually stand under the Restore Britain banner. He stood under the Great Yarmouth First party banner. Now, I don't know, I mean, obviously people in Great Yarmouth must know Rupert Lowe very well. They know he's their local MP. They know who he is and what he stands for and who his political party is. But I do wonder why they didn't actually stand under the Restore Britain banner, but they went for a sort of local push. So I'd be interested to see if he can replicate that in by-elections around the country. It reminds me really back in the days when Douglas Carswell was standing in Clacton, not so far away, for UKIP. He was already a very, very good constituency MP, and then subsequently councillors did extremely well in that patch, and of course under Reform still are. But I just don't quite know yet whether he will have the national traction that he has had in Great Yarmouth. I think that still remains to be seen. In many senses, Restore Britain is very like the one-man band, if you like, that people used to see Nigel Farage and UKIP as being. I think we have to wait and see how the cookie ultimately crumbles before we can really draw any conclusions. But no doubt, a fantastic result for him from pretty much a standing start.
And Paul Thorpe, I mean, not good for you and your plan to try and unite the British right, because he was very clear, wasn't he, Rupert Lowe? Read my lips, my lips. I'm not doing a deal with the people who tried to lock me up. So maybe there's a deal to be done with the likes of Ben Habib and Advance UK. But my understanding of that, Paul, is that Rupert's saying, nope, no deal between Restore and Reform.
Well, look, I wouldn't blame him necessarily when it comes to Reform, but there's more than 2 parties in the mix here. And look, firstly, Dan, massive congratulations to both Reform and in particular today to Rupert Lowe with a truly genuine seismic 10 out of 10 result. I mean, look, Rupert himself has just said he has a small team. What I would like to see is us build on that. We have an army of people waiting and ready and willing to join him and those that are willing and ready to unite. And I think what Reform might do well to remember is that a lot of those votes that they received today, including from viewers of my own channel, many of whom informed me that they were lending their votes to Reform today only. And when the general election comes around, those votes would then be going to Rupert and Restore. So, look, it's a great day in general for those of us on the centre or the right, whatever you want to call it. I just call it the right of good against evil and the nation's rejection of the left.
Russell Quirk, do you feel like Reform UK are just an unstoppable train now. There's nothing that can harm you. There's nothing that can stop Farage becoming Prime Minister, because that's sort of been the mood music that I've been picking up today from reformers. And I do totally appreciate that the result is a very good one. But when you actually look at the percentage share, it's still far lower than what even Boris Johnson was at with the Conservative Party a couple of years ago. And I just wonder, like, is there maybe a little bit of arrogance sneaking in? And I don't say that as a critic, but just in the sense that this electoral system is currently so goddamn volatile.
Well, Dan, I certainly haven't heard anything in the way of complacency from anyone in the Reform team. I think we're very grateful for the votes, frankly. In terms of taking Nigel all the way to Downing Street, I think this demonstrates that trajectory is definitely on point. But we're not arrogant about it. We're not complacent about it. We value every vote. And of course, now we have the challenge of performing in terms of all the councils that we're just taking control of, like Essex, like Thurrock, like Havering, and so on. So, no, I don't think so. Look, I think forecasting a party's votes and popularity in 6 to 12 months' time, whether it's Reform's or anybody else's, is literal crystal ball gazing, isn't it? All we can look at is the evidence, and the evidence is that a start-up party, an anti-establishment party that is against the arrogance and the kind of the problems that have been caused by the Uni-party, the people have spoken. The voter has spoken. As I say, we are currently sitting on as many gains in seats as the Conservatives and the Labour Party put together, parties that have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're not going to rest on our laurels. I'm certainly now, as I'm a member of Essex County Council, as of about 3 hours ago, I can tell you that the WhatsApp groups are chattering with lots and lots of energy and anticipation in terms of how we now start putting administrations together, what vision and strategy looks like, and how we make sure that we demonstrate to the public of Britain that have elected us as councils and councillors, how we make sure that we deliver proper value for money.
And I mean, Essex is huge, isn't it? Essex is huge because this was the Conservative heartland, as in big C Conservative heartland, no longer.
Yeah, look, let me tell you. So the Conservatives here in Essex have been in power, in authority, for 26 years. And we've now taken 53 of the 78 seats. Now, think about that for a second. It's the first time we've really contested a full suite of local elections here in Essex. And we've just taken 53 of the 78 seats. I mean, it is an earthquake. It is a political revolution. So, the Conservatives, though, I noticed James Cleverly this morning and various other front bench Conservatives, particularly Essex Conservatives, actually doing the rounds. Still no mea culpa, still no head scratching, still no apology, frankly, from the Conservatives in terms of how they ran the country, and therefore, as a consequence of that, the consequences that they're now seeing in terms of local election votes. Nothing from the Conservatives in terms of them thinking that they've done anything wrong at all. So no wonder that I think they're sitting now at a loss of about 600 seats, still with about 40 councils to declare.
No, indeed. Well, look, Russell Quirk, so good to have you. Congratulations on your big day. And we're going to be swapping you out as the show goes on with Kezia Noble, your Reform UK colleague, who will be here very shortly. But first, I want to bring in the Advance UK leader, Ben Habib, who has been watching what Rupert Lowe and our superstar panel have had to say so far today. Ben, great to have you back on Outspoken. That was a very magnanimous post from you suggesting that it is actually Restore Britain that has made history today rather than Reform UK. After these results, are you leaning towards some type of deal again with Restore Britain?
So, just to be clear, Dan, I'm not in politics. I'm going to go back a few steps before I come forward. I'm not in politics for party political progression or for personal progression. I am in politics, whether people believe it or not, because I feel the country faces an existential threat, and that unless we have a 180-degree change in direction of the way the country is governed, we are going to end up ceasing to be. That is what an existential threat is. That's why I'm in politics. I set up Advance UK reluctantly, knowing the challenges that would come with setting up a new political party, because I concluded rightly, and it's a conclusion with which I still stick, that Reform UK offers no redemption for the United Kingdom or the British people. Contrary to all the things that Russell has just said about the Uni-party being put out of business, actually Reform UK is a new part of the Uni-party. I like Russell a lot. We go back a long way. We've been comrades in arms in campaigns and so on Talk TV when he was a host, etc. But Russell is wrong when he thinks Reform UK offers anything to the British people. So I set up Advance UK with that in mind, that reform is not the answer. And you will recall, and viewers I'm sure will recall, that when I set up Advance UK, I did so, as I say, reluctantly, but also I wanted Rupert Lowe to be leader. And Rupert Lowe had, in principle, accepted that position. And the party that we were going to set up was going to be called Restore Britain. And it was only towards the end of our discussions in sort of middle of June that Rupert decided he didn't want to do a party, he wanted to do a movement. And we handed over to him all the trademarks and the URLs, etc., for Restore Britain. But I was committed to a political party. And with the benefit of hindsight, as you can see, that was the right decision to go for a political party at that point. And so I set up Advance. And we did, in order, sorry, just to say one more thing, in order to test whether or not there was any traction with the British people, because I didn't want to launch into a vacuum and then find that I'd fall flat on my face, I set a hurdle of 30,000 members, which I thought was quite an onerous target to get to. And I thought it might take a year or whatever to get to that target. Actually, we got there in 3 months. That was the appetite of the British people wishing to have change. And I endorse completely what Rupert just said to you, that there are a lot of people who have been disengaged with politics, who are now re-engaging because of Restore Britain. Initially, I think because of Advance UK, now because of Restore Britain. And they can see that there is some hope that what they've been voting for years, starting off with the vote to leave the European Union, now has half a chance of being delivered. That's why they're re-engaging, because they believe in the politicians who are now saying they're going to represent the British people's views. And you will also recall, Dan, I'm sure, that when Rupert Lowe did launch Restore Britain as a political party, I came out the next morning and said I was delighted that Rupert Lowe was now joining the fray.
And then it unravelled.
And then it unravelled. It unravelled for a couple of reasons, about which I still have concerns.
Yeah.
The first being that Rupert Lowe owns his party, and I think it's very, very challenging. I'm in it to save the UK. And to save the UK, you have to form the next government. To form the next government, you have to bring great people alongside you. To bring great people alongside you, you need a party structure that can accommodate great minds. That has to be some form of democratic structure. So I still have a concern about the fact that Rupert Lowe owns his party. And that was a concern that was weighing very heavily on my mind, back in February when Rupert declared that Restore Britain was going to convert to a party. And then there was, of course, the whole debate over ethno-nationalism, over which I do not want to go. But, and this is the key point, we now, 3 or 4 months on, Rupert Lowe launched his election campaign in Great Yarmouth, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. And even though he may have stood under the Great Yarmouth First banner on the ticket, actually, I think he made things even more challenging for himself by campaigning as Restore Britain, because it's not obvious when you campaign as Restore Britain that people going into the booth know that they should put their X across Great Yarmouth First, notwithstanding that potential headwind that was perhaps self-created. They got an absolutely thumping majority. Now, I am in politics to restore this country. Forgive me for hijacking Rupert's choice of name. But I'm in this country to restore restore the United Kingdom. Part of that process is to restore democracy. If Rupert Lowe gets the kind of thumping majority he just got in Great Yarmouth, then I think anyone who stands up and whistles into the wind of that democratic mandate is getting it fundamentally wrong. Russell, just going back to Russell Quirk, saying he was in Essex, he didn't know what was going on in Great Yarmouth. Well, Farage predicted, as you showed earlier on your program, I was watching even before I was on the Zoom link. As you said, as you showed earlier, Farage was predicting a 1% vote. And you also said, and I'm acutely aware of it because I was part of helping put reform on the map when I thought reform had a political philosophy, that they went from 1% in 2021 to 16% just before the general election was called. So everything is up for grabs for Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe now has the endorsement, not just of social media world, which is where Farage said he could get traction because of mass support, because it's not really the real world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's just proven that in the real world, he can win seats from a standing start with a thumping majority. That has never been done before in British politics. And so it would be churlish of me not to take that on board, given what I believe in, which is the restoration of this country, the restoration of our democracy, and wanting to make all this happen. Now, I may not see eye to eye with Rupert Lowe over the structure, the ideal structure of a political party, or indeed perhaps some of the policies that come out, we wait and see. Though I think there's only a wafer's difference between us and what I've read that they've put out and where we are. Only a wafer's difference if there is a difference. Be that as it may, Rupert Lowe has a much clearer view of where he wishes to take this country than Farage does. And Rupert Lowe will, at the very least, act as massive pressure on reform between now and 2029. And remember, there's no vote splitting taking place between now and 2029. All that needs to be a concern for the general election, not now. Between now and then, Rupert Lowe will do what is required, which is to put maximum bloody, I can say that because this isn't
You can say that,
regulated,
go on. You can say much more than that.
Maximum bloody pressure on the neck of reform and the Uni-party and the British political establishment. That is what is needed. And I've said this many, many times, between now and 2029, what the so-called right wing has to do is have a massive debate about what it believes in. Rupert Lowe is going to play a very significant part in that massive debate.
Well, look, I think that sounds very positive. Stay with us, Ben Habib, but I just want to bring in to our superstar panel now, Restore Britain Montgomery Toms, and also Kezia Noble, who is a Reform UK rep. She is there alongside Suzanne Evans and Paul Thorpe, of course. And actually, Kezia, it's quite interesting. Kelvin McKenzie, guy I respect a lot, actually, he has just posted, congrats to Rupert Lowe and his Restore Britain party, who won all 10 of the 10 seats they fought in Great Yarmouth. Astonishing victory for a startup. Quite understand Reform refusing a deal with the Tories, but a shame if there's nothing to be done between Nigel and Rupert. What's your view on that, Kezia?
Well, I've always said I don't have a problem with Restore Britain. I've always made that very clear. I don't have any problem with Restore Britain. I think it will affect the vote slightly on the right and our vote, not significantly. And I've always said their heart is in the right place. I do think they want the best for this country. In fact, I get attacked more by Restore voters than even Greens. So I think the attack is coming more from their way than our way, if that makes sense. I don't mind. They're a right-wing party. They're against immigration. I'm all for that. That's great.
Montgomery Toms, great to have you. Your leader, Rupert Lowe, was just here a few minutes ago and seems to have totally ruled it out. No deal. He said, read my lips. These people tried to send me to prison.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite clear. I'm more interested in talking on the positives. It's a great atmosphere, great Yarmouth. I'm here right now, actually, and it's been an incredible week. I've been here since, it's been a week now, since last Friday. I've been out with Rupert, I've been filming, I've been canvassing. So many volunteers come down to speak to people, and the energy is just incredible. I mean, I've knocked on God knows how many doors. In fact, I think my knuckles are actually hurting from the amount of bristles from letterboxes of which I've put leaflets through, and so many are feeling the exact same thing. I mean, it's just been so positive, and the level of optimism, not just for Restore Britain or Great Yarmouth First, but for Britain, is overwhelming. And you know, we've won. And I've been saying for the past week, and previously when I was here a couple of weeks ago when we were doing postal votes, that I really do believe we can get 9 out of 9, plus of course the by-election as well that John has just won, so kind of 10 out of 10. And I just think that this just shows that we are there to win, we are there to achieve, we are there to actually be a force of good for Britain. This is proof of concept. It wasn't that long ago. In fact, I was on your show not long ago, Dan, where this happened, and Matt Goodwin decided to run away from the pub to which we were drinking in many nights this week after many days of canvassing, because he realizes that this is the place of hope, the place of unity, the place of Britain, that this is Great Yarmouth First before Restore Britain. It's proof of concept. It's been absolutely amazing. We're absolutely elated. And I know that all political parties outside of, I'm not just talking about Reform, talking about Conservative, Labour, no mainstream media coverage as far as I can tell. I don't know
disgusting. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. I've been looking all day long. Now, Suzanne Evans, I want to ask you about this because you have had your own experience with Nigel Farage, where he pretty ruthless. You were in a very senior role in UKIP. Do you understand where Rupert's coming from when he just says, I can't trust this guy? And of course, Ben Habib has a very similar sort of experience to you. He was the deputy leader of Reform UK. It's actually Nigel sometimes that looks to be the person that is stopping any type of union on the right.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I went through a pretty torrid time, but I think compared to what Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe went through, I think I got off quite lightly, actually.
Well, he didn't report you to the police. He didn't report you to the police, at least.
I totally understand Rupert Lowe's position. The way he was treated by Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef was absolutely appalling. Absolutely appalling. And I don't think there's any reasonable person could look at what he tried to do to him and think there was anything right about that. It was appalling, no doubt about it. And I think that's why, in a sense, Rupert's party is getting a lot of traction, and Ben's too, to a lesser extent, because there are people out there who very much agree with what Nigel Farage has to say, but don't trust him as a person, as a leader. I think there will have been people who voted Reform today who held their nose and voted Reform because they are the best option. If you want
100%, 100%. And I understand that. I mean, look, I'm going to be very honest because I am always very honest with people. I had to think a lot before my vote. I had to think a lot. And I know a lot of people disagree with this, but I spoilt my ballot and I wrote Restore Britain in on the ballot because I couldn't bring myself. Paul Thorpe, you're horrified by me, but I couldn't bring myself, Paul Thorpe, because I said I will not vote for the Conservatives again after that betrayal. And I feel like at the moment, as someone who, for example, Paul, has attended the Tommy Robinson rally and covered that, I feel like at the moment Reform UK are a party against me. And I couldn't bring myself to do it, Paul. I couldn't.
Dan, I get it. Look, first of all, I want to say it's really good to hear both Montgomery and Ben talking about the positives. And I think today is about the positives. So well done to both gentlemen. Ben is absolutely right, though. Everything is up for grabs. And I think that right now there's a new sense of hope and even a sense of calm and realism as people slowly but surely come to terms with what's going to be required here. Medium to long term. I mean, we can spend the next 2 years arguing amongst ourselves, or we can spend the next 2 years working for the country and working out what it's going to take to potentially work together. Look, Rupert was very clear. Rupert's saying no deal. My message to Rupert would be this. Rupert, look, we love you. We love the things that you say. We love Ben. if it's for the sake of the nation, a deal may have to be done, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, look, I will come to Monty on that in just one moment. But Kezia, I think you're horrified by me, aren't you? I couldn't do it, Kezia. The problem is your lot have been speaking down to me for the past year. We don't want you. We don't need you. You're racist. We don't share your... I couldn't bring myself to do it, Kezia, and I'd vowed to myself that I would never vote for the Conservatives again after the Boris Wave betrayal. So I just have to be honest. There wasn't a good independent where I was. I was at a loss. So I just wrote in Restore Britain. I spoiled the ballot.
That's a normal emotional reaction.
I'm an emotional guy.
Fine, but you need to play chess. You need to be looking at this almost reptilian. You need to go in there and think.
Well, no, because I'm in a Labour area, so
vote reform wouldn't make a difference.
No, I get it. That's the thing.
Well, that's slightly different.
It was not going to make any difference in my area.
Now,
I am in a full-on Labour crazy area and green area. They're at my bloody door the other day.
I had Greenpeace, so please. Would you have voted differently if you thought that reform had a chance of getting in over
I would
Labour?
have had to look. I would have had to think about it more, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I could not do it. I even came close. I thought about it in that booth.
No.
And I was like, I cannot do it.
I'm giving you a hypothetical. I'm asking, imagine Labour area or reform. Now, you might say, but it's not Restore, and I don't like what reform have done to me on a personal level, but you know that your area...
It's not personal about me.
But you know
it's about
that your
patriots.
area would be so much better if it was run by a Reform MP or Reform Council. You know that.
I'm just not sure about that at the moment, Kezia.
I'm sorry, they have said that they're going to be putting these detention centres in places where people vote for Green, where people vote for open borders. I think that's a pretty good deal. I like that deal.
Montgomery Toms, you don't like that policy, do you, Monty?
That's a ridiculous policy.
Not,
I mean,
brilliant.
we're on the side of not picking sides, but on the side of the British public. Why would you be putting detention centres in constituencies that people have voted for? Look at Brexit.
I can tell you why. I can answer this. I can tell you why.
No. We had a 41% split during Brexit, for example. So you're saying that Matt Goodwin's okay with putting these detention centres in the constituency to which that he lost in? That was the one he was looking to win. So why do you want to stick them in that constituency? It's not very nice, is it?
Can I explain? So the biggest problem that Matt Goodwin faced wasn't the Greens, it was apathy. It was the fact that a lot of British people are more happy to sit there, vape, and watch Love Island than go out and vote. So if they suddenly realise, wake up and go, oh, hold on a second, if I let Greens get in, we're going to have a detention centre down the end of my road. You sure as hell bet that they're going to turn that bloody television off and put their vape away and go and vote for reform to prevent that from happening. That's the biggest problem that we're facing in this country.
Ben Habib, do you want to come in on this before you go?
Well, I think that detention centres should be placed as far away from the British public as humanly possible. They should be nowhere near civilised society. They are, by definition, entering this country illegally. They're criminals. They should be detained and they should be incarcerated and then deported.
But the Greens have them.
It's a cheap. This is Farage. In order to maintain his persona, he wishes to have cheap political stunts, like saying, I'm going to put them in green areas. But actually, there are reform voters in green areas. There are conservative voters in green areas. There are perfectly good, civilized British citizens in green areas. Why would you endanger their lives just because you're making a political point?
You wouldn't endanger them. They're in detention centres.
Then why put them in? Why
they're in detention centres. They're not in hotels.
Hang on.
Okay, let Monty come and Kezia. Let Monty come and...
Hang on.
Okay, can't we speak over each other? Kezia, hold up. Let Monty come and...
That literally makes no sense. If they're in detention, right, and that's the policy, then why does it matter where they're placed? If that's the policy to which they're not going anywhere, then why place them in any constituency? It's just
nobody wants a detention centre at the end of their road.
Vindictive.
The British public do not care about these ridiculous political games and attempts at trying to bolster egos. We're interested in putting the British people first. I'm not interested in reform. I mean, look at the videos that came out with Layla Cunningham recently canvassing. It's hilarious. It's an absolute joke. And now we've got evidence that the British public, specifically in Great Yarmouth, are not interested in that. They're interested in a party that prioritizes one thing: the native British people and local communities. In Great Yarmouth, they've been parachuting in candidates. They don't even have anyone that's local. It's laughable. I'm really not interested in reform. Any form of a coalition is a hilarious idea. And we are purely here to have a political revolution to which reform are now shitting themselves because they realise we've succeeded. Not just a little bit, but with a fucking landslide.
A fucking landslide. He's on it. Monty is on it. Ben Habib, thank you so much. The Advance UK leader, such a pleasure to have you, and we will come back to the Superstar panel imminently. Breaking today, the fake news agents have been hit with a fresh dose of reality, exposing the major threat of the Islamist vote this election day, destroying our country, as they sent that little lefty goblin Lewis Goodall out to meet Ahmed Yaqub and his mate Shakil Afsfar. You know about this mob, don't you? The Islamist mob in Birmingham behind the Independent Candidates Alliance Party, which is basically the full-on extremist Islamists. But the interview was a disaster, with Ahmed's out-of-control ego being caught beautifully on display here. Watch.
Ahmed Yaqub wasn't involved in politics 2 years ago. Shabana Mahmood has been involved for 30 years.
Why'd you refer to yourself in the third person?
Her father's, because Ahmed Yaqub is a great man. Nothing that you will ever be, little Louis. You think that you will be able to catch me out? I have run rings around prosecutors and judges, mate. You can never...
He then went on to justify why he feels he's in the same league as Nelson Mandela.
No, I'm just interested as to why you compare yourself to Nelson Mandela and think that you're a great man.
He's a great man.
You're a great man.
Of course I am.
What have you done that's so great?
I've challenged the status quo.
Nelson Mandela led a 30-year
votes.
campaign against apartheid. What have you done?
Against apartheid, and I've led a campaign against Jewish apartheid in Gaza.
Right.
In Gaza, in Palestine, where your puppet masters, the Zionist regime, have made the Palestinians suffer under occupation for over 70 years.
Who are my puppet masters?
Your puppet masters, the Zionist regime.
You know exactly who that sounds pretty...
Come on, man.
That sounds
puppet master. Come on, Leslie. Come on.
Everyone knows
you've got puppet masters.
We know what you're trying to do. That sounds pretty anti-Semitic to suggest that there are Zionist puppet masters who control the media.
Everything I say is anti-Semitic. What you say is not homophobic.
No, it's just the oldest. It's just the oldest trick in the book to start talking about the oldest anti-Semitic trope in the book to start talking about moneyed interests controlling the media who are Zionists and Jewish.
And after Ahmed Yaqub happily endorsed the Green Party in the Gorton and Denton by-election last year, he's finally waking up that his Islamist ideology can't be in harmony with the Greens' tolerance towards LGBTQIA+. Watch.
You said that the Greens are degenerate.
Oh, very degenerate. You have
Why
Zack
are
Polanski.
they degenerate?
You have Zack Polanski. Wait, let me. You have Zack Polanski dancing in the middle of stage with naked men in front of little children. I'm a father. I don't want my children to be...
When did he do that?
He did that in Trafalgar Square about a month ago. You don't watch the news, do you?
What, you're saying that Zack Polanski is morally degenerate because he's gay, or what?
No, I didn't say that. Didn't mention that.
No, I'm just wondering.
I didn't say that.
The Green Party is pandering to Muslims' votes by not clarifying that they want self-identification, are not clarifying they want to defund faith schools, are not clarifying that their previous leader had issue with meat, halal meat and kosher meat.
It's just that, like,
that's the problem.
It's just on your leaflet. On your leaflet here, it says "Thinking Green, Think Again." The first thing you mention is LGBTQ.
Because they advocate to promote that in school in terms of, and they don't
clarify that. But what's wrong?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. They don't clarify this to other people when they're going to ask for the votes.
But what's wrong with...
Every single political party has a right, every voter has a right to ask the politicians who come to the doors, what are your policies?
So would you be
and
against...
the Greens are hiding their policies. We are not.
And after that line of questioning, Shakil Afsar stopped the interview and then barred the fake news agents from the cafe.
I think we should cut our interview here. Yeah, let's go, let's go. See you later, mate.
All right, well, an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. No, sorry, we can't
Well,
say the same thing about it. Can't say the same thing, mate. You don't know what hospitality is. And make sure you charge him for his
We'll
hospitable to you, but you don't know what good manners and hospitality is.
We'll be covering.
Make sure you charge this guy. Charge this guy for the tea. Can you ban him from the shop, please? You guys are not allowed. Oh, the back seat.
We're barred.
Oh, you mate, you're barred.
Oh well, there we go.
You're barred. Excuse me, mate.
We're barred. All right, okay, we're barred. We're being barred from the.
Now, of course, Lewis Goodall posted there is every prospect that both of these men will be major power brokers in Birmingham politics from tomorrow. Yes, little Lewis. That's what I have been warning of for months. It's called an Islamist takeover. And mob and lefties like you like to call people like me Islamophobic for saying so. But it's a fact. Nick Dixon. Enjoy the multicultural paradise you wanted. Chris Rose, naive people like Lewis Goodall are finding out that the Muslim independents dislike him as much as they dislike us on the political right. And sane lefty, there's not many of them left, Paul Embry. The amusing thing here is that if some independent journo or influencer had carried out this assignment, progressive types would have condemned him, her as being hostile towards Muslims and whipping up division. But the news agents did it, and they are very ethical people, of course, so it's fine. I want to bring my superstar panel in now. Joining us for the first time today, Orla Minihane. She is Restore Britain's spokeswoman for women and children. She is alongside her colleague, Montgomery Toms, also from Restore Britain. With us too, Kezia Noble of Reform UK. And the independent journalists who are giving us the best political commentary on this election special, Suzanne Evans and Paul Thorpe. Now, Kezia, I could see you watching that and you were absolutely horrified. But isn't this the issue? That the left in this country have been ignoring the reality of Islamism. And by the way, in my digest today, I reported on the Islamist cheating that is going on up and down the country, but I've seen none of it on the MSM. It's just like nothing to see here. And then Lewis Goodall all of a sudden cares because he's actually dealing with the reality. This is what's happening, Lewis. This is why I talk about an Islamist takeover every goddamn day.
I hate this Green Party. This isn't the Green Party that I grew up with in the 90s where they cared about Save the Whales or something. I mean, this is an Islamist takeover. They might as well just call themselves Gaza First and F everything else because they're happy. I mean, this is seriously...
Yeah, but these guys are now to the left of the Greens, Kezia. That's the issue. That they're basically saying, F the Greens, we're going to do our own thing, fully Islamist.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to, but it's part of the Green. This is, look, I'm going to give you an example, okay? So I have a good friend of mine who is a practicing Muslim, and he's actually a Reform voter also. But he voted the Greens, even though he hated everything they stood for, apart from one thing, Palestine. And I said, you're going to vote in a party that will literally destroy this country within minutes because of Palestine. And he said, yeah, that's where his loyalty will always lie. And I've always said, like, I'm a Zionist, but if Reform UK were to say tomorrow, you know what, we're not going to stand with Israel anymore, would I be upset? Yes, I would be upset, but I'd still vote for them because you have to put this country first.
Because you put Britain first.
Foreign countries. I would still vote Reform because I care about this country first. And if I care about Israel more, then I should F off and go live there. Just like this lot, they should go and live in Gaza if they care about it more than this country.
Monty?
I don't know. They seem like some good future Reform candidates, if you ask me. It sounds good. But no, I would say, sorry. But I mean, I'm not too interested in getting into any debate regarding kind of the whole Israel-Palestine conversation. Restore our position is very clear on any foreign conflict. If it's not in the interest of the British public, why get involved? Why talk about it? It's not even a worthy conversation when we're living in a country which is struggling so much and the British public are suffering. I mean, what more is there really to say, Dan? I mean, they're just more of an example as to how we have to deal with migration in this country, deal with the people that have come here and don't want to integrate, forget integration, actively dislike our country, have no interest in in contributing both socially.
Okay, well, it's interesting though, Monty, because you have raised the issue of Reform UK's foreign candidates, and I think given you've raised it, it's fair to bring Kezia in. But Kezia, just before you do, can I read something out to you from Connor Tomlinson today, who posted Reform UK's Bangladeshi national candidate Adi Mo Assad Uzzaman lost his bid to be a local councillor in the central South Sea ward in Portsmouth. His British colleagues won 5 seats. A lesson here for Reform: when your candidates represent your voters, you're more likely to win. Does he have a point?
Yes, I mean, Portsmouth is not a particularly, it doesn't have a lot of ethnic people in Portsmouth. It's mainly white. So yeah, it would make sense, probably to put more white people in that area. So when you saw that clip with Layla Cunningham, she was in Brent. I mean, good luck spotting a white person in Brent.
Let's just look at that. Let's just look at that. Let's just look at what happened, because a lot of
but
people...
but at least those...
So Kezia, how do you feel when you see that?
So, okay, can I explain that?
Please.
She is in an area where it's predominantly probably Asian people, okay? Brent, I know Brent. Now, those people that you see there, they might not look like you and me, and Restore voters might not like them because they're darker. They're not ethnically British. I don't know. I don't know. But let me explain.
Monty's laughing at that. Why are you laughing, Monty?
Because instantly...
I'm just going to explain to you. Please
no. Instantly...
Okay, we'll let Monty come in and then you can come back.
Instantly, you want to racialise the argument. You always see this. Layla did the same thing. She
Why don't you like that clip? You said you don't like that clip. Why don't you like that clip?
Yeah, because it's not a racial thing. It's a lineage and ancestry thing, and that's a very important distinction.
What is it? Why don't you like that clip?
I know Reform...
I'm asking you.
Yeah, what are you asking me?
Why don't you like that clip? Why are you ridiculing?
Because they're foreigners, and I'm not a fan of that.
Okay,
it's not complicated.
But that's Brent.
Okay.
That's Brent. That's not because...
Why are you repeating that? Let me explain.
They have been let in under Labour and Conservative for years. Now, those people that are in that, they probably don't like Palestine. They don't like Gaza. They don't like all this Islamic kind of Islamists in the country.
Yeah.
That's what you're in. And that's the situation. Brent is a very ethnic area.
Yeah. Okay. So when reformers, and as I say, Layla reposted, I think it was Basil the Great's repost of that video or something like that, and instantly want to allude to skin colour and race. And it's something that Restore Britain is not interested in the slightest. What we're interested in is... we talk about this a lot. It's continuity. Ancestry is an important factor. It's got nothing to do with skin color and race, and I feel like that's just
ancestry. You said ancestry.
But Kezia, can I just ask you something, Kezia? Can I ask you something, Kezia?
I'm asking.
Am I wrong, Kezia? Am I wrong for wanting an Indian policy on this? And what I mean by that, Kezia, is that if I were to move to India, actually, even if I'd been born in India, because I am not ethnically Indian, I could never run for office in India. Joanna Lumley, a Brit who was born in India, can never run for office in India. So why should it be any different here? And Reform UK claims to want a policy like that, while at the same time putting up foreign nationals, by the way, including some foreign nationals who actually hate our flag, to run for office. And to me, it feels like a capitulation. And I do think there is a capitulation going on to Islamism, because Farage admitted it himself. His view is that you can't win without it.
You have 3 million Muslims in this country. Ignore them at your peril. Okay,
well, at least you're honest about it. I want to bring Orla in because she's just joined the panel. Orla Minihane, do you want to come in on this? You're very proud today. You're very proud. Congratulations.
I don't want to argue with. I'm not arguing with Kezia today. I'm in a good mood, so I'm going to be. I'm just gonna glow in the joyous win that we had in Great Yarmouth.
Well, Reform did well too today, by the way.
Didn't say they didn't, sister. But you didn't win your seat, did you?
Nope, not at all.
Oh.
Anyway, so where were we? What did you want to say? Sorry, what did you? I just got diverted slightly.
For her, please.
Kezia, was it close? Was it close for you?
No, it was a Tory. It was the safest Tory seat in the country, and we knew that we weren't going to win. And I have the whole reason that I did it is because I said the only reason I'm going to stay in London with my children is if I can find somewhere to live under a reform council. And so I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I went, I learned, I did it, knew I wasn't going to win, but now I'm moving to an area where it's a reform, it's more pro-reform.
So you're moving to an area without ethnic minorities.
There are ethnic minorities there. Actually,
I'm just challenging. That's all.
As much as you like, I don't mind.
Okay, Suzanne, do you want to come in on this?
Yeah, one thing I'm absolutely clear about is I don't like illegal immigration, but I'm not opposed to immigration. I think immigration where people come to this country, where they are prepared to accept British values, where they come here because they love our way of life, where they're prepared to learn English, where they're prepared to abide by the rules and our values and our cultural values, I've got no problem with that. I know some immigrants, I'm thinking of one friend in particular who's Romanian, who loves this country. She's just done her citizenship ceremony. Another Jewish friend of mine, the same. One of them is in fact a local councillor. Either of those people, I would be more than happy to have them running for political office, and I would vote for them myself. And, this kind of thought that just because of where you were born, you can't stand for election as a local councillor, when you're paying council tax and you're living in the area and your children are going to a local school, I'm afraid it's absolutely...
And Monty, that does seem to be a fundamental split, and it is a fundamental difference in position of Restore Britain, is it not?
Yeah, I think it is, and I don't like it, I'll be honest.
Monty, do you want to respond?
Just to clarify so I make sure I'm addressing what you're saying accurately. You're talking about somebody, I don't know, who came from Bangladesh 10 years ago, for example, standing in elections. Is that what you're referring to?
Who, me or Dan?
Well, either or, in terms of your objection, in terms of us saying, okay, we don't think that's necessarily right.
Well, see, I don't have an objection, Suzanne, because for me, I'm just being totally honest about it. If I move to any other country in the world, I mean, I am ethnically English. I mean, I talk all the time about the fact I'm ethnically English, New Zealand born, I've got a dual citizenship. But if I were to move to any other country in the world, right, and it doesn't matter what country it is, doesn't matter if it's a white country, doesn't matter if it's Switzerland, doesn't matter if it's Nigeria, it doesn't matter. And that country had a rule that you had to be a citizen and you had to be ethnically of that country to run for office, I would absolutely accept it. But I would never move to another country and want to get involved in their politics anyway. I think it's a weird thing to do.
So you wouldn't stand for election here, Dan? I'm sure you'd be very good. Why
not?
not?
My point is I am ethnically English. That's my point. I am ethnically English. Like, that is the difference. It's just like Boris Johnson was born in America. No one is trying to say that he should not be able to run for office in the United Kingdom. Everyone knows he's ethnically English. I'm ethnically English. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. Every single part of my DNA is ethnically English. So no, I'm saying I should be able to run despite the fact I was born overseas. So it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're, as I say, for me, it's about, if you're a British citizen, then I think basically you have on offer to you whatever a British citizen has on offer to them. And I personally think that's only fair. I think the problem is that we're giving British citizenship to too many people who don't embrace our values, who don't speak our language, who actually stand against everything we stand for. And I think that is the far bigger problem.
Wally, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, so that and thereby is the issue, because we give out British citizenship like Smarties. So the problem is you then have as somebody who came here a year ago who can't string a sentence together, standing up, doing a promotional video in Urdu. That is not okay. That should not be allowed. Absolutely should not be allowed. And the thing is, you have a there's so much grey area, because if you say, oh yeah, but he's Romanian and he's been here 10 years and he's a lovely man, he may well be so. But ultimately, you make it such a grey, not you per se, Suzanne, sorry, but one would make it such a grey area that you have to have very hard and fast rules, because otherwise they will be broken.
Paul Thorpe, where do you stand on this?
Where I said, yeah.
Paul Thorpe. Let me just bring Paul in.
Sorry. Carry on.
Dan, I think what I'm listening to just kind of highlights where we're at. I mean, we've got 6 or 8 great people on the show today. We're all essentially on the same side, and we're arguing over the fines and washing our dirty linen in public, when what we perhaps should be doing is working out a way that we can come to an agreement, reach a common understanding, and agree on exactly what we're trying to achieve together. For me,
because that's your big, that remains your big thing, right,
yes.
Paul? You
100%.
still believe that everyone on this panel, for example, everyone who's been on the show today, from Rupert Lowe to Kezia, can unite. That is your big hope, to bring everyone around the table.
Dan, if we were stranded on a desert island together tomorrow, I'm sure we would all get along fine.
But Dan, can I just chime in really quickly? I do have to shoot off shortly. I'm kind of finding the whole debate over what is it to be English kind of painful. I mean, not being able to define what an Englishman is like not being able to define what a woman is. And you go to any other country, it's bloody obvious. If you went to China and I had children in China with an English woman, and I said my children were Chinese, do you know who would take the piss out of me? The Chinese. Yeah. The same should apply to England. And this whole conversation of, oh, well, it's like, no, there is ancestral continuity, and there is ideas and nuances and wars and heartbreaks and all sorts of beautiful things that happen throughout history. Love, romance, stories, Shakespeare, poetry, literature, everything. And it gets passed down generation to generation to generation. And every country gets to claim that lineage, that understanding, that history. But when it comes to being English, nah, don't worry, you've got to forget about that.
Totally right.
Bengali migrants
That's
running
the question.
Kezia, come
yeah,
in.
no. This is, by the way, this is not a loaded question. It's a serious question.
Okay. To Monty.
To Monty or Orla, is Restore allowed, or would they ever allow somebody who is either Indian origin, Black or Jewish origin to stand? I don't mean someone that's come over here a week ago. I meant someone that was born here, but their parents, let's say, are Jewish or Indian or Black.
Okay. So
go on, Monty, you go.
Can I answer that question? I really do have to go, so I can answer this. Take me a couple
final word to you, Monty.
Yeah, as I say, like, this is racializing a conversation. So
I'm really asking. It's not.
Well, I know, but when you're talking, hang on. But when you use the word black, that racializes the conversation, and this is what the reform base do: is they want to instantly racialize things. So, are you saying? Let me give you a question.
Can you please answer the question first? And I promise you,
I am answering the question. I'm answering the question.
You're answering the question with a question.
Yeah, because it's going to highlight. It's going to highlight how ridiculous what you're saying is. Are you saying somebody who is not white can't be English? Is that what you're saying?
No. Can answer my question first, and then I'll answer your question.
That has just answered your question.
As Restore allowed to have somebody who is ethnically Black, Jewish, or Indian?
Jewish is not. Jewish is a religion. Jewish is a religion. You're
a lot
mixing
of
the
people
two up.
don't think so. A lot of people who support.
Well, that's like saying Muslim. That's like saying Muslim's a race.
Well,
Islam
you've got
is
Ashkenazi Jews
a
and you've got
religion.
Sephardic Jews. So Sephardic Jews are definitely not white. They're from Morocco. They're from Yemen. But back to my question.
But you just said a British Jew.
Ola, I'll ask you. Ola, are Restore allowed, or would they ever have someone stand who is ethnically Indian or Black? We can put the Jews.
Well, I know the answer to this. I know the answer to this because I've spoken to Rupert and his team about it direct. Yes, because it's
I've got to go.
Yeah, Monty, thank you so much. Montgomery Toms from Restore Britain, thank you so much. And do stand by the rest of the superstar panel because we will come back to you imminently. Breaking today, Zack Polanski, the tit whisperer, the Green Party leader, comes out of this historic election with his reputation in tatters. The guy is finished. And I know there have been Green gains in certain seats. But my prediction that the Green Party would lead the national polls at some point this year is out the window. Because sensible Brits have woken up, and it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right, to the fact that this dude is actually the biggest grifter to ever hit British politics. And there are shocking revelations, which I'm going to come to, as it is finally exposed what he actually did with the Sun newspaper in terms of this claim that he could increase the size of a woman's breasts through hypnotism. So let me take you through a whole load of this, because the Daily Telegraph on election day has also been able to finally reveal a whole load of dodgy things from Polanski's past. And look, I don't mind that people have jobs when they're younger, right? But the point being, Polanski is a total grifter. He never found his way, and all he has ever wanted is fame. And he never found it. So look, he was a bit part actor in these dodgy films where he was taking drugs. He performed on the X Factor in a choir, and he found his way into hypnotism. And it was through hypnotism that he first tried to find fame. And what is so shocking is that even now the Green Party are lying about what Polanski did in terms of that Sun article all of those years ago. But the great news is, and this is going to be important, folks, because trust me, the way to smash the Greens is to smash Polanski's credibility with the public, and the public are horrified by what he tried to do with this hypnotism. And I've found the article. I have found the original article that Polanski cooperated with, and how he then used that article to continue to push his hypnotism business, even though he wasn't formally qualified. So I'm sorry, this is going to be really weird reading out this article, but it's important to do so because this is the real Zack Polanski. So this is what ran in the Sun. Let's get to it. Can you really think your boobs bigger? As hypnotherapist says you can boost cup with mind, Sun girl Casey Davies finds out with surprising results. This was published on the 12th of June, 2013. Has the time come when we can burn all of those uncomfortable push-up bras? Hypnotherapist Zack Polanski reckons so. He says he can boost your cup size using the mind alone. And then he's quoted, "This is an extremely new approach, but I can see it becoming popular very quickly because it's so safe and a lot cheaper than a boob job. In theory, it could work on other areas of the body too." Really, Zack? There's no reason why it can't help nails grow longer and stronger, for instance, and there is already proof that hypnotherapy has helped a number of alopecia sufferers with hair growth. Now, that's actually quite sick, isn't it? Because if you've got alopecia, that's actually really damaging. And this dude's lying and saying that hypnotherapy can grow the hair. But anyway, so can hypnotherapy really boost your bust? We sent 32B Sun girl, Casey Davies, this was before woke, it's when I was at the Sun, it was great fun actually, to find out for herself how it works. Zack Polanski says, the brain is the most complicated computer we know of. Our unconscious knows how to run our bodies better than we do. Essentially, I'm looking to utilize the unconscious process to make changes to the body. We don't exactly know what is changing because of the complexities of the unconscious. We do know that whatever is changing is ecological. So if it's changing one thing, such as the size of a person's breasts, it's making sure that the whole system is changing in order to support it. So that was what appeared in the Sun, okay? Then we get to this. So writing in The Guardian last November, he said, I don't think there are many TV shows now where I haven't explained that I was misrepresented in the article. But wait, because in a 2019 article entitled "Politics Was Never Part of My Plan," Mr. Polanski admitted he had not been misrepresented. Sorry, this really matters. Stick with me here. None of this is to say, this is what he said in 2019, 6 years after the Sun article. None of this is to say that the journalist did a bad job or misrepresented me. And it gets worse. The Telegraph has uncovered blog posts previously written by Polanski where he credited his interview with The Sun for helping him to secure clients. In an August 2014 entry on a blog linked to the Harley Street practice where he worked, he wrote, "Since the Sun article last year, I've worked with a lot of people on phobias, building confidence and self-esteem, and helping reduce anxiety and depression." So this is extraordinary. Because the tit whisperer is totally lying about the fact that he was complicit in this article with The Sun. And I want to bring my superstar panel back in on this. Suzanne Evans, Paul Thorpe, Orla Minihane, and Kezia Noble. Kezia, this is so shocking because what it shows you is that Polanski is totally lying when he tries to just blame The Sun for this article. Now, I was working at The Sun at the time. I am offended by the fact that he is blaming The Sun, but it's very easy for him to do that with his left-wing base who hate The Sun. But this is so important because we now have the receipts proving, Kezia, that in 2014 he was using the Sun article to promote the business. And in 2019, he actually said on the record that the journalist didn't misrepresent him. So he has been caught hook, line and sinker.
What about 3 years ago when he was, I think he was running for Lib Dems, am I correct? He said a vote for me is a vote for Israel.
Yes, he did.
What happened? What happened then? Now he's
And he
like,
said that he was a Zionist too.
He talks about is Gaza. It's the only bloody thing he talks about, this man. I think that, look, yes, I'm glad you're uncovering this and you're sharing it with as many people as possible. It's extremely important. But I just, I don't even go there. I just look at what the Green Party represents, what it promotes, and that's enough for me to know that this is a truly awful party. And if it gets into power, it will destroy this country once and for all.
Ola Minihane, this is truly astonishing, isn't it? That this guy has risen so high, but I feel like the election results show he's hit a ceiling. Like most sane people who were flirting with the Greens have been incredibly put off. And it isn't just because of the anti-Semitism stuff. I think it is to do with everything connected to Polanski as an individual. He is just a grifter.
He's just a grifter. I mean, everybody's been put off. Well, most people have been put off, unless you live in Hackney, which clearly, maybe they're all smoking too much weed. I don't know what goes on there. But, it's the thing is with him is what he did and what he's done for his entire life is con people. He's a con artist. He's a grifter, but he's a con artist. Now, if you compare the rise, I don't know if you remember how long ago it was now, a few years ago, when Jeremy Corbyn, who's another lunatic, but at least he's principled, and he stood up in Glastonbury and everyone was going mad at Jeremy Corbyn and everyone was like, oh my God, this is going to be a left revolution. Everyone loves him. Not really. You've just got a lot of very sort of wokey lefties who made a big fuss about it at the time. But ultimately, Corbyn is Corbyn, and he's very left-wing, and he's very pro-Palestine and all these different things. But he isn't a con artist. And the thing is, Polanski's taken money off of people. He's taken money off of people. He's used their vulnerability. And by using their vulnerability, he's exploited them. That is all we need to know. We cannot have anybody who exploits vulnerable people in any kind of power, in any kind of political spectrum. He just needs to be sidelined as soon as possible. I mean, my thoughts on the Green Party are that the Polanskis and the Hannah the Spanner and all of these, wokey lefty liberals are all just a cover up for the great Islamic Party of Great Britain. And essentially that's what they are. And that's what will happen if they ever got into a position of power. So
100%, 100%. And it is so
sham,
serious. But the thing is, Suzanne Evans, a lot of people tend to think, oh, well, why are you talking about the tit whisperer stuff, the breast stuff? Isn't that a bit juvenile? But actually, it's not. When voters learn of this, Suzanne, the support for Polanski plummets.
Yeah, it's the same people saying, why are you going on about this? It all happened in his past, who are very happy to bring Nigel Farage's past up every second of the day. Absolutely. So no, I mean, Zack Polanski, they say, don't they, that politics is show business for ugly people. And my goodness, is Zack Polanski ugly, in my view anyway. And you look at his career, it's always
he is, isn't he? He's revoltingly ugly inside and out.
Inside and out, yeah.
He's tried acting, he's tried music, he's been on the X Factor, he's done this hypnotherapy thing, trying to big himself up. I mean, if he fails in politics, and I think he will, he'll probably find he starts up a religious cult or something to keep conning people and getting money from people and doing whatever he does. But it's all going to implode anyway. I mean, he's making a big thing about Green successes today, but let's put it into context. The Greens have won 1/10 of the seats that Reform have won in local council elections. So he's not really doing that well. He just seems to be very good at getting a lot of attention. And it is all going to come apart because we know that the Green Party on the one hand is a Trojan horse for Islamism and anti-Semitism. But that is, of course, very much at odds with the other side of the Green Party, the older, more traditional style Green Party, which does have some kind of eco-enthusiasm about it, which the Gaza people don't give a damn about. And of course, it's very much in support of LGBTQI+, all the rest of it, rights and so on and so forth. So there is going to be an almighty reckoning. It's probably going to be quite a popcorn moment to watch it. It will come sooner rather than later. But no, I agree with Orla. I think they are the Green Party, in my opinion, always has been a pretty nasty force in politics, actually. We used to call them the watermelon party. They look very nice and friendly and green on the outside, but they're blood red communist in the middle. I remember when they first came to prominence in the late 1980s, when I was working as a journalist on local radio. I looked into their manifesto, which nobody else seemed to have bothered to read. But for example, they had a 2-child-only policy back then. Nobody picked up on this except me, as far as I can tell. But they've always had policies that are really quite nasty, very communist, very socialist. But as I say, because you've now got this Trojan horse for Islamism and anti-Semitism, it's going to implode, I think, quite fast now.
Yeah. It's just a very strange mishmash of all things that don't fit in anywhere else almost. Yeah. And the thing is, ultimately, the Green Party's success, which is minimal in compared to what everyone was worried about, is ultimately just because of the fact that Labour are so absolutely abhorrent that nobody wants to vote for them. So they've taken that Labour vote because those left voters could not bear and would never, ever vote for a right-wing party. So it was the only option for them. And that's essentially why they voted Green. Because if you ask a lot of people who have decided to vote Green rather than Labour, they would not be able to tell you the fundamental policies that Green have in place. They would just say, I didn't want to vote Labour, so I had to vote someone else on the left. And essentially that's why they've become semi-successful. But again, nowhere near as successful as people feared. So I think that's a good thing.
Indeed, it is. Paul Thorpe, final word to you on this.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think the main thing is here, Dan, is that what we've seen today is not the start of the beginning for Zack Polanski, also known as David Paulden, of course.
It's not even his real name.
Interesting that the mainstream media always refer to Tommy Robinson, also known as Stephen Yaxley Lennon, but forget the David Paulden bit. But look, this is the start of the end for him today, not the start of a beginning. The man's a chancer, he's a liar, and quite frankly, he's a bit of a freak.
He is.
And
he
ugly,
really
don't
is.
forget the ugly bit.
And he's ugly as well, Orla, yeah, I'll give you that.
And very, very ugly, very, very ugly. He is indeed. Wow, what a fabulous superstar panel. The legend that is Paul Thorpe. You have to follow him on YouTube. Subscribe to his brilliant channel. The legend that is Suzanne Evans, brilliant independent political commentator. And our dueling restore and reform beauties. I can say that, can't I?
You just said that everyone in politics was ugly. So
Apart from you two.
I didn't say that.
Apart from you two. Kezia Noble and Orla Minnie-Hain. You are the exceptions. Thank you so much. But look, we've got to get to some breaking news. This is in the pop culture space, actually. Quite a lot has been going on politically today. So I just want to bring you a couple of breaking developments because you know we have been following this story about Nadia Sawalha, whose husband is a Green Party candidate, and he was suspended from the party, and she then used these claims of dark forces that were described as anti-Semitic. Well, Nadia Sawalha has now found herself suspended from ITV's Loose Women show. That is the latest reporting on that today. The other big breaking pop culture news is that Tess Daly and Vernon Daly have just announced the end of their marriage, with Tess posting on Instagram. Let's just get to this and let you know what she said, because of course she's just left Strictly Come Dancing, and she said, after much consideration and with a deep sense of care and respect for one another, we have made the decision to separate amicably. This has not been an easy choice, but it comes from a place of mutual understanding and a shared desire for what is best for both of us. We remain great friends and, most importantly, fully committed to our roles as loving and supportive parents, which will always be our priority. There are no other parties involved. We kindly ask for privacy during this time as we navigate this transition together. We will not be making any further comments. And of course, they had been married for 22 years. in terms of the political updates today, I can tell you now that Plaid Cymru is now the biggest party in Wales, and the huge news is that Labour is in third place. So Plaid has won 42 seats in the Senate election, putting the Welsh Nationalists in a position to be a minority government, ending more than 100 years of Labour rule. Reform has come in second with 34 seats, and Labour has limped into third place with just 9 seats. So that really is quite something. And some lovely news to end the show today. Connor Tomlinson, a regular here on Outspoken on Fridays, has just announced the good news, saying the good news doesn't stop today. The Tomlinson twins arrive in November. Ha! Isn't that amazing? Connor did tell me this news earlier in the week, but he did not mention twins. So I'm just finding that out for the first time at this moment. Wow, Connor, that is absolutely incredible. Delighted for you and your lovely wife. I know how desperate you were to start a family. There is the post. Just amazing news. Some very good news to end what has been an incredible week. Now, we are going to reveal our Greatest Britain and Union Jackass in just one moment. Of course, because it is a Friday, it will be the worst Britain in the world this week. But first, I want to tell you about something we are doing here on Outspoken next week, because we have a special lineup of clashes leading into our live coverage of the Unite the Kingdom rally on Saturday week. And on Monday, the week of the clash kicks off with a post-election special. This is a Gen Z debate when we put the parties of the right, Reform UK, Restore Britain, and Restore... What did I say? The parties of the right, Reform UK, Restore Britain, and the Conservatives. God, I'd nearly forgotten. That tells you, doesn't it, how irrelevant they now are. Head to head. Here's a sneak peek. You seem to suggest that Brits would be anti a Donald Trump-style ICE deportation force.
People have been killed because of the ICE deportation force.
If someone has invaded this country and is a rapist shot dead, too bad.
We want real people at the helm who actually know how to run a business, run a farm, like Rupert Lowe, genuine salt-of-the-earth Brits.
Wasn't he the chairman of Southampton?
Yes.
Salt of the earth. He's screaming the same political and social elite that have run this country for a very long time. Millionaire, privately educated. Do you know what proportion of the population even know who Rupert Lowe is?
Adored by young men.
A small
section, but yes, that is true.
We are seeing a copy and pasting of what the woke left did to identity politics on the right.
Are you a member of the conservative LGBT group?
Do you have an issue with the Reformed Jewish Alliance?
I no longer give a damn about the makeup of a particular political party.
The whole anti-male perspective, why people go for people like Andrew Tate, who I am not a fan of at all.
Why did you feel you had to say just now that you're not a fan of him?
Right. What is it that he's been accused of? Sorry.
Sexual assault.
And you don't think that's serious?
No.
Do you believe in innocent until
Dan,
proven
I have not
guilty?
finished my point. Please stop interrupting that.
And next week, we also have special clashes featuring Mike Graham, Lawrence Fox, and something very, very special, actually. A Muslim fanatic female going head to head with a Muslim convert, someone who is now anti-Muslim, who has left the religion. So we have a very, very special lineup of clashes on the show next week. Then on Friday, what we're going to do is preview our special coverage of the Unite the Kingdom rally, which is going to be hosted live on Saturday by Lauren the Insider and Don Keith of The Real Beef with Don Keith. So next week on Outspoken, we're going to move away from this political madness for a special week of shows in the run-up to the Unite the Kingdom rally, and you know that you're going to get the best coverage that you will not get from the rest of the mainstream media here. So please do subscribe to this YouTube channel, turn on the notification bell, and that special Monday episode of the show is available to watch live right now. Or sorry, not to watch live, but to sign up to subscribe to put into your watch later so that you'll get it. You know what I mean. Okay, who is the worst Briton in the world this week? A reminder of your nominees. These are when we put your Union jackasses from across the week head-to-head. On Monday, it was Laura Kuenssberg. Tuesday, Jeremy Corbyn. Wednesday, Shabana Mahmood. And Thursday, Slippery Starmer. To your feedback, Azuro Lionheart says Laura Kuenssberg. Horrible woman, calling anyone not left, far right, and shitting on Tommy Robinson again. She is so uneducated on anything other than what the BBC Islamist filth tell us. It's unreal. Horrendous person. If Nigel or Rupert end up running the country, people like her need sacking and investigation for defamatory lies of people who never deserve to have their being shut down for telling the truth. Hear, hear. Love that passion. Conrad Magia says not even voting Shabana because she doesn't represent British values. She hates it here. M Vinyl 3484 said Corbyn should be deported with Starmer for the hatred they both have for the United Kingdom. And that's something I'm really picking up, actually. They do have hatred for us. Crocodile79 says, on that list, it surely has to be Jeremy Corbyn, no matter what the others have done. Filva Make 997 says, it's no surprise that Starmer... Oh, she's going for Starmer. Okay, there's no surprise that Starmer wanted to cancel the local elections after such a total defeat. He should be drafting his resignation speech. Phil Reef 746 says it's always Starmer, an absolutely pathetic individual more concerned about saving his own skin than running the country. John Mulligan says the most hated man ever in politics this country has ever seen in its political history, Starmer. Okay, so let's reveal the results now. In fourth position with just 4% of the vote, Jeremy Corbyn. In third position with 5% of the vote, Laura Kuenssberg. The runner-up with 9% of the vote, so this one wasn't close, Shabana Mahmood. But the worst Briton in the world this week with a whopping 83% of the vote. After nearly 60,000 of you have voted, it is, of course, Slippery Starmer, the Prime Minister, who is hanging on for dear life, because this is a man who prizes power above patriotism. Thank you so much for joining us on what has been a crazy election day special of Outspoken. I really do hope that you're with us all next week for our special editions of The Clash, kicking off with our right-wing Gen Z debate on Monday and wrapping up next Saturday with our special live coverage of the Unite the Kingdom rally that you will not get anywhere else. So remember, we're back 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Monday. Do hit subscribe, and you can also subscribe as a podcast too. Have I told you that before? I think I have, but it's completely free. So just sign up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you rate and review because it really helps us in the algorithm. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and that we can switch off from this political madness for a couple of days. But most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.